Welcome to episode 71 of the Rex Chapman Show with my super dope homeboy from the Lextown, Josh Hopkins. Hello, Josh.
Hello, Rex. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good.
Are you having a good New Year?
Happy New Year, buddy. Happy New Year. I am.
Brand new.
I am. I'm having a good one. It's going to be a big year. I can already feel it. You?
Yeah, I can feel it in the air. I can feel it in the air. Do you have, did you set any resolutions? Have you set any resolutions?
I have, but per my tradition, I don't share those. It's really personal. And I can't believe you would ask that on air.
I'm sorry. All right. I can volunteer mine if you'd like.
Well, yeah, if you want to put yourself out there like that.
Well, I could inspire some people and help people, and that's what I'm about. I came in, I'm motivated this year. I know I'm motivated, but this year I am motivated. And I came out, I'm not only going to read more, I'm going to read every day. I'm going to be part of a book every day this year. Now I broke it. I broke it. I didn't but that was I was going to do that, but I
couldn't
read the one day. And so I broke it, but I was motivated. And next year I'm going to be crazy reading.
Yeah. But see how that works. You tell someone you did it and already you broke it. That's why I don't tell anyone. See how that works? I didn't read anything this week for book club just because it's the new year and got a lot going on inside my head. Just couldn't focus. What about you? Did you read it?
I broke my resolution. Yeah. So that was kind of a bummer. So I'm going to make a new resolution, something about TV, like more Netflix or something, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's been book club. Well, Josh, we have a good
episode
guest.
71. We got anybody for 71?
Oh yeah. 71. Tony Baselli. All right. 71. You have any?
Well, here's one I definitely didn't look up, or none of the producers told me. I just remembered that the old Kentucky offensive lineman that played for the Lions for a long time.
Yeah.
Logan Sternberg. Yeah.
You know what? Now that rings a bell. Former Wildcat.
I just remembered it just right before.
It just came right to you. Well, speaking of Kentucky, we have a fellow Kentuckian today, Josh. So why don't we get to it? You want to? We have assistant to the head coach of the Mississippi State Bulldogs, the 1998 national champ, first team all SEC with the Kentucky Wildcats, former 8-year NBA veteran. We have our homeboy, Scott Anthony Padgett. Welcome, Scott.
Good to be here, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you? How's Starkville?
It's going good. You know, like we started off really good. We had a rough night the other night. Got our first loss. But it's been going good. You know, like Coach Jan's, you know, in this business of being a coach, you always want to learn more and more and more. And I feel like I've always gravitated towards the offensive side of the ball. And one of the big reasons why I came to Mississippi State was Coach Jan's reputation defensively, and he's earned it. Like I walked in and watched his defensive system for 2 days, and I was like, why have I not seen this before, and why wasn't I doing it? You know, like it's one of those systems. You know how college basketball is. You know, there's good players, but there's a lot of average to poor players too. You know, and his defensive system thrives on the guys who aren't big time. You know, it puts those guys in situations where they're going against traps and they're getting put along the baseline where you got baseline, sideline, extra defenders and things like that. So as a guy who coached a press a lot, it's almost like what we're playing is the press in half court, which you cover less ground that way. So I was like, how did I not ever think of this? But I love watching it. I've learned a lot. And, just trying to, for our team, just try to get a little better every day. Obviously the real tests are coming because, we start off SEC with Alabama and Tennessee right off the bat. So we're going to get tested really hard right up in the front side of our schedule.
Yeah, you are.
Yes, you are. And you just, you were unblemished. You got beat the other night. Always good to get your first loss under the belt before you have to play Kentucky, though. Right.
Hey, I get so much junk from the whole, especially Coach Brooks on our staff, who's been at Mississippi State, played at Mississippi State, he's been there forever. I get so much junk from the staff about Kentucky daily. And I tell them, hey, listen, I'm going to cheer for them all the games but one.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And when they come to Starkville, I want to beat them. I want to beat them bad. Sorry, Kentucky fans.
Sure.
Scott, man, I can't thank you enough for doing this. For those that don't know, you were in school a few years after I was, probably 10 or so, 10 years.
Around, I think 8.
8. Yeah. And
you were 88 last year, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I got there in 94. So
wow. 6 years. Okay. So, but for those that don't know, Kenny Walker and I were playing in the NBA at the time. And so we spent every summer daily with those teams in the 90s at Kentucky. So Scott and I are very familiar with one another, played against one another in the NBA as well. But here's what I want to get to, Scott. My whole life, there's only one, I say this to people when I'm speaking all the time, I never saw a Kentucky basketball game growing up, not until I signed to go play there. I've never known in my whole life anyone that had season tickets to the Kentucky Wildcat basketball games that ended up going to Kentucky and playing. But Scott Padgett did, right? Didn't you guys have?
Well, I didn't have season tickets. We got to go to a couple times.
Okay.
I remember the one of the best games I ever went to was you guys played you had the UKIT, the Christmas tournament.
Yeah.
You guys played what was the kid? You played UNC Charlotte.
Myron Dinkins.
Myron Dinkins, yes.
Wow.
And it was a battle. And it wasn't expected to be a battle. So, I went to the game thinking y'all were going to go blow them out or something. So you were actually in for a treat because you got to see a really good game.
That's right.
But no, I was a huge fanboy of yours growing up. I remember I went to McDonald's, the Derby Classic,
Mm-hmm.
and when you were at the dunk contest, everything got the autograph on the program.
Oh my gosh!
And then how they used to have the cat's paws, that big thick yearbook,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember they used to have the open practice when you guys came to play at Freedom
That's right.
Hall, and I remember I stood within 3 feet of you for the whole time. And this is a God's honest truth. I got every player on the team's autograph but yours, because I'm not joking. Little high school and college girls were knocking me down to get to Rex. I was
insane.
9 years old. And and about the time I'm about to hand you the thing, I can't remember which assistant it was. It was Lake Kelly or who it was. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But they were like, we got to go. And I'm literally about to hand it thing. I was so heated. I thought about it. I'm not even joking. I thought about, because I knew you had played pickup with this and everything. I thought about getting that book from my dad and bringing it down. And I was like, no, I'm going to look like a loser. I'm playing.
You got to do it. You got to do it. Send it to me, please.
When you were standing that close to him, what would you have done if someone said, in 30 years, he's going to have you on his podcast, they say radio show or TV show, interviewing you about your life and your success in basketball?
You know what? I tell everybody, I would have never believed it, first of all. I tell everybody, I got lucky and got to play basketball after Kentucky, but going there, signing that piece of paper to go there, that was my dream. So, I would have never thought I could even get to that level, much less whatever, anything. The success while we were there and then being able to go on after it, it was, it was every kid in the state of Kentucky's, minus Rex Chapman. Every kid in the state of Kentucky's dream, go play for the Wildcats, I did all the stuff when Joby Hall and Denny Crum did a Converse shoe signing deal that they went around to different places. They were arm wrestling on the poster. Like I went and I got the autographs, and I literally went up there and got Joby Halls and didn't get Denny's.
Wow. Why? Okay. Why that though? For people that might not know,
there was blue blood in these veins.
But why? You grew up in Louisville. You're right there in Cardinal country, and they won titles too. Why was that not even a thought for you?
Well, if you know my dad, anybody that knows my dad knows that wasn't ever an option. I'd have been disowned.
That's hilarious.
I had a big family that all love Kentucky. I mean, there was a couple people in the family, but most of the people love Kentucky. I grew up Kentucky. I was that guy that, probably liked to get in arguments and fights. So I had a lot of Louisville friends that I'd argue with about who was better and stuff. I mean, one of the things I was telling you, I was like looking up the stuff for the podcast, and I saw the logo and I was like, that is the Kenny Payne dunk in the Big Brother 85, Little Brother 51 game. I was like, I knew that as soon as I saw it. I was like, this is awesome. I said, I was the whatever you name the kid. I was in Louisville, but I was like the kid in Eastern Kentucky that grew up Richie Farmer fan. Whatever. Like that's who I was growing up. So it was just the most exciting time of my life. Like to be able to be there for that 5 years that I was there.
You just brought his name up. You're a fellow Kentuckian. Speak a little bit about how good Richie Farmer was.
I mean, like Richie was a really good college player, but if you'd have saw him in high school, you wouldn't even understood it. You wouldn't even understood it because, like, I mean, he had more hair than any grown man you knew, full beard, and then it was growing out the shirt and everything, and you're like, there's no way this guy's 17, 18 years old. But then, like, he had a knack for just, like, he got to his spots, like, I mean, he could shoot the three, but he got to those elbows and he was automatic. And people don't realize, like, for a smaller guy, he was actually pretty athletic. He jumped balls for him.
Could really jump.
The biggest guy on the team half the time, like, he was just that old school hard work, shot out on the tree, the backboard on the tree, probably guy, and he was just
the crazy part about Richie. The crazy part to me about Richie was, he was small, but he could really jump. And there were times you'd, maybe he'd be 18, 16, 14 feet away. He might just jump up and shoot it left-handed and make it. I mean, he crazy talent. I remember Richie, the first time I met him, we played in the state tournament my junior year. We got beat my senior year in the first game. But we played, and Richie was a freshman at Clay County. And, they played until the Final Four, maybe, or so. They call out the all-tournament team, and I made the all-tournament team. And I go down there, and Richie had just gotten beat, I think. He was still in his uniform, maybe. And he walked out on the court and walked up to me and looked at me like, and I'm 2 years older, I guess, but he's got a full beard and a mustache, man. Didn't shave till I got to Kentucky. And he looked at me and said, "You're awesome." I remind him of it every time I see him, but gosh, what a good guy. And
I went to your game in high school. You went to Bullitt East. That was like the closest that I had ever got, to seeing you. And like, I had a buddy who was from Mount Washington area. So like we actually went to that game and saw you.
We put them to sleep really quick. They had a guy named Jason Falk. He was like a white kid about my size. And people were really talking him up, around Louisville and everything. And I didn't know him at all, and I couldn't wait to play against him.
Yeah, those people talking him up, man. They set him up.
They set him up. Scott, let's focus on you, man. Look,
I want to go back to Richie real fast. Those
go.
Clay County teams they were all short.
Mm-hmm.
They had that kid Russ Chadwell.
Yeah,
good.
Jump out of the gym.
Dunk the hell out of it. He was about 6 foot tall and just 140 soaking wet and could just cram it. And they were so fun. This is country team run around. And I remember he had to work, but I remember, Richie didn't learn how to work until Rick really worked. you know,
Right.
and his
Nobody
struggles-
does really.
Well, I want to ask Scott about that, but his struggles are well documented at Kentucky at that point. But I remember reading like the Cat's Paws, and it's like, well, what'd you do over this summer? And he was just like, fish.
Good summer.
There was no grind. There was no, I did a lot of fishing. That was it.
That's
Played
it.
ball, 9 played since we lost. What? Then he goes in, and gives Allen Houston 52 or whatever.
Yeah.
He had. I mean, unbelievable.
Just
All
crazy.
right, I'll put Richie to bed now.
All right. No, I want to ask Scott, when did you played every sport growing up? When did you realize, and when did people around you realize that you were a pretty special athlete? And why'd you stick with basketball and not the other sports?
It's crazy. The one that I really, really loved growing up was baseball, and my strike zone kept getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
and so, and I was the pitcher that they literally called me Wild Thing. I was the guy that everybody was scared to play against because nobody in the arena, in the building or on the field, nobody knew where that ball was going. So
but it was going there fast.
I had a really good fastball, and I had the breaking ball where I'd throw it at you and it'd break across the plate. And so, but sometimes it didn't break across the plate and hit you in the back, and I had the fastball that I'm going to throw it really hard. And if you're up against that plate, I'm going to test you. And sometimes I test a little too much and it hits you,
It just hit you.
So by the time, you get to the second inning, I've probably walked 2, struck out 2, and hit 1. Nobody after that wanted to be in the box. So I was a much better pitcher if I could get out of the first, couple innings without getting any runs, because now I've scared everybody.
Right.
But I loved playing baseball. I actually played on, travel baseball, all-star teams and stuff like that. And then I got to St. X and I was pretty good at football. I was a receiver. And, to be honest with you, if St. X wasn't, old school like Auburn, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, if they were more like teams play today where they threw the ball more, I probably would have played my whole time, because I really like football. I like catching the ball. There's something about, being at the stadium and you get a touchdown and everybody cheering, I really liked it, but we didn't really throw the ball that much. And to go through all we had really hard physical practices back then. To go through all that and not get the catches and stuff on game day, not get very many opportunities, I was like, nah, I'm just going to, I'm going to be out here and get hurt, and I'm not going to get a touchdown,
Somebody would have slid you over to tight end eventually, and you would have been a problem.
Well, that's what they wanted to do. I was really skinny, and they wanted to put a bunch of weight on me, and I was like, not doing that, because I was really good. By then, by my sophomore year, I was really good basketball player, and I was like, I'm not going up to whatever. I was 190 or something, I was 6'9", 190. Like if they would have said 210, I would have been like, all right, they wanted me to get 230, 240, and that's where I ended up getting. But, I just wasn't feeling that, blocking a whole bunch, because we were a running team. So if they wanted to move me a tight end, I was going to get 2 passes a game and block for 60 possessions, whatever. I just, I didn't mind as a downfield receiver, like one of our running backs getting loose and a guy chasing him. I didn't mind laying a freaking hat on somebody and trying to knock him out. But I didn't want to sit there and block defensive tackles all day.
That makes sense. Smart.
So Scott, you finish up high school. Well, tell me this: the first time you remember Rick Pitino coming to watch you play. Now, knowing you just told us, that's your dream to go to Kentucky. What game do you remember him coming to see you play?
Came to see somebody else. Came to see the guy I was playing against.
Love it.
Came to see the guy I was playing against. You know what? Things worked out pretty good for both of us, I think. For me and Rick on that one, because that guy didn't end up doing much, and we ended up winning championships.
Fantastic.
Gerard Ward was the #1 player in the country. He ended up at Michigan.
Yeah,
6'9", could shoot it. Played a little bit like in high school. They kind of held him back a little from what he was doing in high school when he got to Michigan, but he played a little bit like a Durant type in high school. And Coach P came here at the Nike All-American camp. It was up in Indianapolis. And if he had been in anything before that, I hadn't seen him.
You didn't know, yeah.
I'd seen Billy before. I'd seen Delray before, but I'd never seen Coach Pitino. And he was sitting front row, dead center. Couldn't miss him. I hit like 6 threes in the game. And this is how about you'll love this, Rick. So back then the rules weren't the same back then. So back then they could send you a note or call the room, So I'm in the hotel and the phone rings, and my roommate he knew that I wanted to go to Kentucky and all this stuff, and he knew they hadn't really been recruiting me. And phone rings and he goes, "Hey man, it's Rick Pitino," and I'm looking at him like, "Yeah, whatever." And I take the phone, and it doesn't sound like him, like I've listened to the radio show and TV. It doesn't really sound like him. And I was like, man, he talked for a second. I was like, man, this ain't funny. And I hang up the phone. He calls back. He was like, and then when he calls back, it sounds like him now. I was like, Coach, I'm so sorry. I thought somebody was playing a trick on me.
That's great. That's so good.
I talked to him, and literally, like, my recruitment was 2 weeks. Like,
wow.
Like, of him, once he called, it was 2 weeks. Billy had probably called me 5-6 times, but Rick called me then. And then I went they had the big Nike Invitational out in Vegas with your AAU team.
Yep.
And I went to it, and I made the all tournament team. And we actually our team made it to the Final Four. We beat Felipe and Steph Marbury's team, the Gauchos. Yep. We beat them to go to the Final Four, and we lost to BABC with Wayne Turner and Randall Jackson were on the team. They beat us. They ended up winning the whole thing. But when I got back from there, my high school, St. X, had a lot of ties to the University of Louisville, and we were real close and everything. And Coach calls me, and he was like, "Coach Scott, I don't want to waste your time or our time. So there's a lot of things going around that it might be done. You're going to Louisville." I said, "Coach, I have no idea where you heard that. But I'm not going to Louisville no matter what." I was like, "They're not even like in my, and I respect them like Scooter and Larry Gay used to come to games all the time. And, I like those guys, but I just wasn't going to Louisville.
Right.
My biggest high school rival was Jason Osborne. He had just committed there. We played the same position. Like, there was a lot of reasons, but I said, so I stopped him right there, and I was like, "Coach, listen, if you all were to offer me a scholarship, I'm done." And he goes, "Well, we're definitely offering you." I said, "Coach, I'm committed." That was it.
That's
Easiest
fantastic.
Recruitment he ever had.
That's amazing.
That's a real one. That's a Kentucky boy right there. I love that.
That's right. So fast forward a few months though. So you're done, and you drive up the road 65, 70 miles to Lexington. I say it all the time. I left home and I was nervous, and I didn't know, my dad was telling me, "Hey, they don't think you can play right now. They're looking at you for what they think you might be able to do." I was perfectly humbled to go in there and earn everything. How did you feel when you left, and how big of an adjustment was it?
Well, first of all, it was huge because basically everybody, we had about 8 people at the 2 positions I could play, and just about every one of them, I think, played in the NBA eventually.
That's right.
So
go through that list real quick, Scott. Who is that? Who are those guys?
Mark Pope, Walter McCarty, Antoine Walker, Roderick Rhodes. That was my first year. And then you come in, you got Ron Mercer and Derek Anderson come in because I was playing some 3. And then eventually I played some 5, and we had Jamal McGlure, Nazi Muhammad, Mark Pope.
Prickett, Jared Prickett.
Yeah,
I mean everybody could play. Yeah, everybody could play.
And so I learned really quickly where my pecking order was in that list, which was the bottom of the list. And I didn't learn it really from playing. Like, I felt like, to be honest with you, in my freshman year when I came in the summer, like, I wasn't just going and killing or nothing like that, but I felt like I was holding my own.
You did.
But like, you know how you come in, you get summer jobs. I had the job where I was digging in the clay and putting irrigation in, and other guys were working in an office with air conditioning and like, I'm going and working this job 8 hours, going straight to lift, then going to camp, playing in the camp, as you know, because you can
at night.
playing.
That's right. Yeah.
No. I was playing in the camp and then playing pickup after the camp with the guys. So my day started at 7 a.m. and it finished with playing at about 11 p.m. And the only other person that had that day like that was nobody. So like I was like, ooh, either they think I need a lot of work or they really think I'm broke and I need this job or something's going on. So then get through summer and like my first meeting with Coach P where he calls you into the office and like it's one of those, first of all, Coach P calls you in the office, you never want that call. Ever.
That's right.
There is never, ever going to be, he brings you in there and says, hey, you were awesome. Like you're coming in there, you're in trouble. So we're like a week into school and I got a goatee. Tony Delk got a goatee. Roger Rhodes got a goatee. Walter McCarty got a goatee. Derek Anderson, who's sitting out's got a goatee. So like Andre Riddick's got a goatee. So, like what I'm saying is like, there's a lot of dudes with goatees. I'm not the only one.
Right.
He calls me and he's like, Coach goes, Scott, I want you to shave that. And I don't know how we are right now, so I'm going to keep it clean, but I want you to shave that stuff off your face. And I must have looked at him funny. And he goes, you're probably thinking right now, are you the only one that's got a shave? Because there's other guys on the team with goatee. And I'm going to tell you, you are the only one that has to shave because you need to get ready for the business world. They're all going to play professional basketball. It's my first week on campus. Now, knowing Coach like I know him now and knowing more about Coach than I knew then, he's a psychology major.
Yeah.
So Coach was that guy. He knew which buttons to push on which people because I'm that guy. You tell me I can't do something, I'm going to be like, I'll show you, MF. And so like it was from the basketball standpoint, it was the right button to push in me every time you like, push me down a little, it's going to fuel me, to go harder. So, freshman year was it was rough because, there's never been a team I was ever on going to like second grade where I wasn't forget playing. I was probably the best player, and so I went from that to, I played 51 minutes my freshman year. And I had a game my senior year where I scored more points than I did my freshman year, and it was rough. And you know how it is. I mean, you've been down there, like, I wasn't playing, but everybody was still pretty dang friendly to Scotty P.
That's right. That's right.
Like, and I was that guy. I was like, well, I'm gonna have some fun somehow. And
did you? Yeah. Well,
every night of the week, I can tell you every night of the week where you want to
where
go.
you were. Yeah. Well, you know what? But that's the thing you don't know is that the coach did know. He knew you could play. He needed to motivate you. And so the thing that you probably have put together at this point was you named all those guys, and Antoine's different. He's just different. He's really, really good. But none of the rest of those guys were 6'9" and could shoot it like you could. You could always shoot it, and Coach knew that. And in the 90s, in the mid 90s, if you were that big, you guys had you and Walter, and I mean, who could really shoot. So I'm sure he was just trying to find, the right buttons to push because he knew you could play. Yeah.
So, obviously you rewind to the end of my freshman year, I'm out of school now.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that probably saved my career at UK was, and this sounds crazy, but Jared Prickett's knee was hurt. And they were going on a trip to Italy. And, Coach, he's going to go over to Italy. He's going to press and all that stuff. Yeah. Well, back then, you couldn't take incoming freshmen and you couldn't bring the seniors who were leaving. So I was the 9th man to go on the trip that could play,
Wow.
And so he takes me and we go over there and I averaged like 8.5 points, 6 rebounds, something like that. And I shot like 60% from three and from the European three. And I think my career would have ended had Jared Prickett not been hurt. And I think I would have been at Marshall with Billy. I really believe with Billy and Don Helfrey and those guys.
Before you left to go on that trip, any inclination to transferring between that time, the end of the year and the trip?
No, I'll tell you. I'm sorry. I got so many freaking stories because I went through a lot of stuff. But like, I never in my life thought about transferring until. So I'm sitting out after we get back from Italy. I got to sit out. I'm not even going to. I can't even go to school. And my deal was, he told me I had to. Coach, told my parents and everything. Scott's got to get a job. He's got to earn enough money or whatever to pay for the spring. If he pays for the spring, he gets a 3.0. I'll get him back on scholarship the next year. That was my deal. So I'm sitting out. My cousin owns a lawn care company, and I had another place that I did like phone solicitation stuff.
What year is this, Scott? What year?
95. This is the 95, 96.
Yeah.
The best season maybe ever.
Fair, because we didn't really touch on it. You were headed there. You knew where you were going out every night. People loved you around town, but you stopped doing the work. The
schoolwork.
I wasn't going to class.
Right.
Because so what happens? I was upset or whatever, depressed, whatever you want to call it, about not playing. And so I was trying to have some fun. And when you stay out till 4 a.m, it's hard to make the 8 a.m. class.
Yeah.
It really is.
My dad did the same thing, Scott. He went to Kentucky and they couldn't play as freshmen. And apparently he never left Owensboro, and that's what he did. And then he transferred out and went back to Western at the end of the year. So I get it completely here.
So I'm working these 2 jobs. I go to work at 6 a.m., work for my cousin. I get off at 4. The place that I go to work at that has the phone, has all the phone booths, they have a shower there. So I'm working outside. I would take clothes. I would go to like McDonald's or Taco Bell, pick something up in line, go scarf it down on the way, go to the place, shower. And then at 5 o'clock I was on, and I'm calling you at dinner, asking you to buy stuff, and you're cussing me out, but I did that. And my whole plan was like, I'm going to go back, I'm going to pay for it. During this time from August till December 31st, New Year's, I don't get one call from anybody on the staff. And I know they got stuff going on, but I would have thought, somebody's going to reach out, whatever. So my AAU coach was really tight with Coach Crum in the University of Louisville. And no, like not a lot of people know this, but
they do now.
I go down, and he can't talk. Denny Crum can't talk to me,
right? Because
I'm not released. But if I'm enrolled in the University of Louisville, he can talk to me. I go down and enroll in class. Coach Bennett had a relative that worked in the registrar's office. He got a call saying that I had registered for class.
I bet Coach Bennett I bet he did have a friend in the registrar's office. My roommate, Winston Bennett.
So that night I get a call from Coach Bennett. He's like, Scott, what's this about? You're supposed to be back here on January 8th. I was like, Coach, I hadn't heard anything from any of y'all. I just thought y'all were done with me, And at that point, the phone goes on speaker, and Coach Pitino goes, Scott, we had a deal. You know the rule. You know what it was. Go down there tomorrow. Withdraw from all your classes. Get down here. Withdraw in class. You got practice on. You got practice on the next day. And what I do? I went down there.
Exactly that.
Went down, enrolled in class. And now, mind you, I told you I just worked from 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. every day. When was I working out? I hadn't touched a basketball since Italy.
Thank goodness you were young.
I put on 20 pounds.
Wow.
And I go to practice, and Coach P's got me out there freaking pressing. I literally almost died.
I bet you did.
First day. I almost died. But it was crazy. Putting on the 20 pounds was maybe the best thing that ever happened for me, because now I ain't got it in my head that I'm even thinking about small forward anymore. I am a stretch four. I'm going to, be able to post up, play inside out, all that stuff. And Sean Brown did a great job of turning what that slob was when I got there, turning it into muscle and getting me right for the next year. But
think about that though, Scott. That's 25 years ago, Josh, and or 26, 27 years ago. And he enrolled in another school being at UK, and nobody in the media heard about it. If you do that today, somebody in the registrar's office is on Twitter in 2 minutes. And before you're out of there, everyone knows you've enrolled.
I wasn't even registered for a full 24 hours.
That's incredible.
That call on that day at that time And or if that doesn't happen right then, we don't win 98.
Yeah.
We don't have.
I don't know whatever even happens to me if like I'm at the University of Louisville now.
Yeah.
Like, it's a different life. Like it's crazy.
Sure.
Would you, Scott? Would you call that 98 season of yours a season of redemption? For yourself after missing the one in 96.
You know what? I grew up. Obviously big time Kentucky fan, and I'll be honest with you. Like your '88 team, I thought that was a team to come.
I did too. I did too.
But I watched for a long time, and we won it when I was 2 years old in '78. But like we had some really, really good teams along that way that didn't.
Yeah.
So we win it in '96, and I'm not there. You don't expect to go to 3 in a row.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Like those were hard to get to, and people don't understand. And I take that to all fans today. Like y'all don't understand how hard it is, and how much luck of the draw, all that stuff goes into it. But 97, we come back and we win it. I mean, and we go to the championship and we lose it. And I'm sitting here going, we're losing. We're losing Anthony Epps, our leader. We're losing Ron Mercer and Derek Anderson and Jared Prickett, who's been through the battles and the wars. Like, I thought we were good, but there was no way I thought we're going back and winning it next year. And then coach leaves, and it's a whole new thing because Tubby's coming in. So like, I said it like, Cameron had his, documentary he did on our 98 team. And I said it then. I said, I think the best thing about our 98 team was that all those guys left and they counted us out at the beginning of the year, because we all were like, yeah, we're them dudes that are just left around. We were the pieces around all them dudes, but we were all pretty dang good, like we ain't got that dude anymore, but there's a whole lot of like I told everybody, I said our 8th man scored 31 points in a game that year, which was Cameron Mills. And that was the highest output of anybody on the team. He's our 8th man, that's
crazy.
It's
people discount though what it's like, what it's like playing with and against first round NBA picks for 4 or 5 years, right? People are like, well, you can't, he's not even starting. Well, yeah, because he's got the 3rd pick in the draft and the 5th player in the draft playing ahead of him. And when you start, not only do you get beat up, you gain confidence because you bust them in practice sometimes too, So I was just so thrilled for you. And, where does your game winner in the Elite 8 rank among best moments? Ever?
I mean, it's the second best moment because of how I grew up. Like I grew up Kentucky fan. So getting up on that ladder and cutting the net is number one. Number 2 is that shot. Like I was lucky enough. I hit a game winner in the Garden when I was in the league. It was the ugliest shot ever. You're not expecting. I got Tracy McGrady and Yao Ming, and somehow the ball's in my hand. And I tell everybody, like, it's the Garden. It's cool, but it don't touch. Being able to hit a shot versus the team you hate. Yeah. Like I grew up. I was a hate Leitner guy. If I'd buy a shirt. Still hate him, whatever. But, like to beat them and for it to help us go to the Final Four where we eventually win it. I mean, it don't get no bigger than that. And, hey, 90% of the people who come up to me bring up that shot. Yeah. Fans and stuff, like they bring up that shot.
But you know what, Scott, and I say this regularly. We've had Shep on and we've had Rick on, and I came up in a few years before you, until we hadn't won a title. The last team to win a title, I was there in '86. We hadn't won a title since '78. Mm-hmm. But I can't, Sam had been through the program, and Melvin and Kenny Walker and a lot of really great players. I came after them until you guys, we didn't win. And I remember, you remember going into Rafferty's, Rafferty's out there on.
Yes, I was there after every game.
Me too. So Rafferty's back there, right by the restrooms. There's a picture of the '78 team. It's got them all up there. You can't miss it. You walk past there, and I have part of me still. Every time I see those posters, I just like, damn, I'm jealous. Damn, I'm envious, because Kenny, myself, Sam, Melvin, we came through there to do what you guys did and to do the only thing that Kentucky fans really remember, and is were you on a title team? And for many of us, we weren't, and you guys brought that shit back, and I can't thank you enough, man. Really.
Amen. Preach, Rex. Preach, Rex.
Well, you know, and I will say, like, we actually, you know, like our makeup of our team was from all over the place, but like Shep grew up a Kentucky fan. Cam and I obviously, you know, Cam obviously his dad, you know, Lex, I was big time. I do think, you know, Anthony Epps, you know, like I think those guys, I think we all, the other guys fed off of how much, like when you're playing Louisville, how much it means. And
you guys were kind of like, you guys were kind of like the unforgettables on steroids, right?
You know,
right?
what's crazy
I mean, yeah.
But
I mean, they were
like,
hometown guys.
To me, they're still here. You know, like
yeah, because you're younger. You were younger.
You know, like to me, like I still see Sean. You know, Sean. I see Sean out recruiting, and I still think of Sean, and I'm going. He was 2 seconds from having the greatest shot in the NCAA tournament, and it was a harder shot than Leitner's.
I know, and they definitely built that ramp for you all to go up and win it. That's why they were so special. But then for you guys to go do that 98 with a bunch of, you know, some Kentucky kids hitting huge shots, it was so special for everyone to go there 3 years in a row. I mean, unbelievable.
I tell everybody, like, to me, the reason why 96, 97, 98 came about was because of two entities, the Unforgettables and Jamal Mashburn.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, no, because Jamal Mashburn made it cool for the Tony Delks, the Walter, you know, all Americans, the Rod Rhodes. He made it cool for them to come. You know, like I was always going to come. You know? He made it cool for the All Americans to come back after you know being on probation and stuff.
How'd they get on probation? Shit.
Scott, I just have to tell you this quick story, this anecdote, because it was one of the greatest moments of my life. Because one of the worst moments of my life was the shot, Leitner's shot. You know, I cried. I was a grown man and cried. And so when we had gone, me and about 17 friends had gone to the Bahamas for Griggs Powell. Rex knows him. Griggs Powell, his bachelor party. And we, in our little lodge or hotel, there was too many to be in one room to watch the game, but we also didn't all want to be one room. There were some of us that were all like, we're definitely losing. That's how they deal with it. And some of them are like, there's no way we lose. And we couldn't intermingle because we were saying we're definitely going to lose, because if we say we're going to win, we're definitely going to lose. And they're like, no, you know, so we were, and then we got down and we were down 17. And like, I can remember walking over to their room and being like, you know, you guys ruined it for us. And back and forth, they're like, shut up. And we were just so down. And then it started happening.
You had no idea we had them right where we wanted them.
Exactly. And then when Cameron hit that shot and you hit that shot and exercised at that moment, all those Leitner demons for so many people in Kentucky, because it was Duke. Yeah. And they had it was over.
I got goosebumps.
You guys just wouldn't quit. And as soon as it was over, both rooms funneled out and met. We turned a corner in a hallway, and there was like 10 on one side, 10, and we're all like, yeah, and hugged and fell to the ground. And people were like, shut up, and we're like, yeah. And we had one of the greatest nights of our life. Thank you. You
know what's crazy is, you know, everybody always asks me, like, I you know, back then, and even still now, but more back then, it became big with UNLV, but like guys were dunking and yelling and stuff. When I hit the shot, I turned and I was like, and people always ask me like what I was thinking. And I'm not joking when I say this, and this is how messed up I am. I was totally in your face, Leitner. Like, that's what I was like, you know, like, finally, it took 6 years of my life, but I finally got something, this junk off my chest. Like, and obviously he had nothing to do with it, but like, that's the inner Kentucky.
That's how you felt.
Like, I was like, in your face, Leitner, you know, like, And I knew, like,
God,
I knew
that's
when it
beautiful.
left my hands, I knew we were going to win the game because I knew it was good. And I knew once we got the lead, they can't come back from this. You know, like
No timeouts.
Scott, tell everybody right now what that's like. You said I caught it. I knew it was going in. Think about that. You know, you know it. Just get me the ball. Talk about being that, you know, having that mindset. You obviously know, you know, you're not nervous in that moment. You've done it a million times before in the backyard talk about that for a second.
But I want to know too. I want to know when you see it, the ball's it's coming to you. At that moment, you know, we just won. Or are you like,
you know,
set your feet, where's your
muscle memory?
I knew it was coming. I didn't know at what point it was coming, but I knew it was coming because Wayne Turner was smoking Wojciechowski.
Yeah.
And he was getting in the paint. And people forget, like, you know, whatever. People have revisionist history about things, but Tubby coached that game phenomenally. Yes. They had no timeouts. We didn't give them a timeout at any point to let them, you know, regroup or anything like that. But also, I was playing the 5 at the end of the game. Nobody remembers that. So Elton Brand, who's never out on the floor, right?
Small ball. Yeah.
Elton Brand's never out on the floor. He's used to being down there banging with Nazi and Jamal. He's guarding me now. And I knew it was coming because we had been running pick and roll, and he had been staying home. But Wayne had been killing him. And I was like, it's one of these times they're going to help on Wayne, and I'm going to make them pay. And I remember Wayne got down. He got inside the left elbow. Elton came down there to help. And as soon as the ball left his hands, I was like, that's your ass, Mr. Postman. You know, like. And we had this thing on our team. We used to, like, when we would shoot and we knew it was good, like, we would yell, ice cream.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you listen to the video,
can you hear it?
You can hear one of our managers, his name was Mike Howard. When I shoot the ball, he's yelling, ice cream. And I don't know how you hear it because it's freaking 45,000 people going nuts. But
that split second.
Right as the ball's like right here, he's yelling ice cream before I let it go.
That split second where there's doubt, where everybody was quiet, but he didn't have the doubt.
Yeah. And then we all exploded. That
Exploded.
Especially for a Kentucky kid who people talk about, oh yeah, I'm on this 3, 2, 1. I'm making for the Kentucky for the champion to beat Duke at I mean, you lived
I grew up. My house I had growing up, we had a 30-foot wide stretch of concrete. And we had a 3-car garage behind it. My dad put a goal on this side, and a goal on that side. So, like, I shot on this end, I would go get the rebound, turn around, shoot on the other end. It was my version of having a gun. It was my version of having a gun.
Yep.
And I shot that shot. I can say it, not anything. I shot that shot as Rex Chapman. I shot that shot as Ed Davender. I shot that shot as James Blackman. I shot that shot as Kenny Walker. You know, like, and that was like my first time I getting to shoot that shot as Scott Padgett. You know,
wow,
yes,
amazing,
that's fantastic. You know, but then how do you guys after that? We wouldn't possibly really be talking about that shot right now had you not handled your business afterwards. How do you go from that kind of up and you've exercised the demons of Leitner, all that stuff, and then get ready to go play?
One thing that was good for us is that we had a history of the team of, because of the way we played with pressing and the 3-ball and runs, we had a history of, we had games where we had been down and things like that, and we came back and won games. I think that game probably solidified it for the next 2. You know, because being down 17 to Duke, we end up being down 10 to both of those teams. Mm-hmm. But we had a game versus Vanderbilt in 97 where we were down 22 and we won the game by like 10. You know, obviously they had the game in LSU. That was before I got there. But the 31-point comeback win, you know, at LSU, we had been down, you know, Arkansas, my freshman year in the SEC tournament, down 7 and came back and put it to overtime win. You know, so we had been in those situations. But, like, for that team, we knew we could do it, but that just solidified it. And we also believed this. Like, we felt like Stanford was really good. Utah was really good. We also believed that Duke was better than both of them. I tell everybody, and then talking about the luck, I tell everybody there was 3 teams I didn't want to see that year. Arizona had beat us in the tournament the year before and beat us in Maui. They matched those 3 guards. It was a tough matchup for us. We didn't want to see it. Like we'd have played them, and I'm not saying we'd have lost, but that was a tough matchup.
Right.
North Carolina with Anton Jameson and Vince Carter, Ed Cota, like that was really good team. And in Kansas, Rafe LaFrance, Paul Pierce, that group. But you know what? We sat there and we knew we were going to be when we won the SEC tournament. We knew we were going to be the top number 2, and so we sat there knowing we're playing Duke. That's the one we ain't got to worry about. You know what happened? We played Duke, and all them other ones got beat before we ever got to them. Wow. And that's the luck of the draw because the reality was Stanford, and that was the toughest, most grueling game we had all year, but they weren't as deep as us. So we weren't worried about Utah. I tell everybody, and Jeff Shepard, he'll tell you the same story. We're down 10 at halftime, and we're like sprinting into the locker room, and we're looking over, and Doliak is walking. Yeah. And it's crazy. It's the craziest thing because nobody believes it unless you were one of the guys in there when we tell you this. We went in there and we come in and Tubby doesn't even have to say that. We got them where we want them. They're dead. Let's come out there and put, let's put them down. And Jeff Shepard's and Jeff's not the most animated guy. So when he's saying it, it just means everything, and it's we went back out there and it was a slow walk to get to tied. But once we got tied, it was see ya. It's
I love it so much.
That's so interesting that you say that too, because I Cal has had the best team several times and he won it once. If you played best out of 5 in the tournament, he'd have 3, Kentucky.
That's for sure. The 38-1 team for sure. I think if they played anybody in a series, they win.
Mm-hmm. I think the Wall Bledsoe team would have done it. If
that one hurts. I was on the staff.
Which Scott was on the staff.
Yeah, that really hurt. So I think there was some, but by no means any disrespect. I felt like that year was the year I kind of call it you sneak one. You're not maybe the best team.
Yeah.
Things go, you got to show up, you got to do it. But like you said, the dominoes begin to fall, which rarely. I think Kansas this year was that way. I think they're the top, maybe not top 5 team in the country all year. What a great year for anyone, but
they got blown out by Kentucky last year,
and so did Carolina
at Kansas.
Yeah. So the way you said that, I was always wondering if you thought, there were other teams more talented for sure, and you ended up outlasting everyone, being the best team. But how you feel about it?
I've always felt like the tournament. It's about the game in front of you, the game at hand that you have, and everybody else. The bracket is for fans. It really is. Pick it out and all that stuff and everything. But as a player, you're looking at the game at hand, and hey, let's face it. If I don't have to play, whoever, if you're playing the UNLV 1991 team, and they get knocked out of the way, okay,
sorry,
it's one of those things. Everybody's like, well, you're maybe one of the I don't want to say the worst because that's not the word, but you're the most we're overrated or whatever, all that stuff. I don't care. I go put on what I call the Blue Lantern. I got that championship ring, and that's all that freaking matters.
That's right. That's right.
You know what? In 1998, we were 1.
That's right. Damn right.
Compared to Scott, any other year, we might not be.
That's right. I know we're going to have to let you go here. You've got stuff to do, but how proud of you are you of your son, Lucas, another Padgett at the University of Kentucky? Football.
What I love about it is he went and kind of made his own path, and that's not my oldest son plays basketball. He's at Manhattan College, and he's having a good year. He's playing well up there, but I feel like he, my son had to live with me, but he had to live up to me and his brother, and so he went and found his own niche. And it's crazy because I remember him playing when we were in New York and I was with Manhattan my first time around. As a third grader, we got him to play football, and he literally wanted to quit and never play again. Because there they did, all the teams were on a weight limit. It didn't matter age. So he was a third grader playing with fifth graders.
Oh my God.
Because he was a bigger kid.
That's demoralizing.
And he was just miserable. And I said, when we moved to Alabama, I said, let's try it different down here. It's, it's the South. It's a little different, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
They're probably not as good in football down here in Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama, the state of Alabama. Do they know anything about football?
No, nothing.
What's that guy's name? Oh, Saban. Yeah. But no, he went down there and kind of, on his own thing and kind of just worked hard and figured it out. And now, man, he loves it.
That's amazing.
Loves being part of the team. He loves the team. He loves the coaching staff. He there's nothing about his experience that he doesn't love. And as a dad, when they leave the nest, man, you're so
That's
worried
right.
about him and everything. And for him to be able to go out there and just love what he's doing and love his life and, kind of got stuff just figured out, man, it's kind of awesome.
I love it. How
I had a buddy that lives in Alabama, and he had lived in Lexington before, and he grew up with all us crazy Kentucky fans. He was down there watching a high school game a few years ago. He said this really nice looking athlete white boy went up and boom, and he said, basket by Padgett. And he was like, I know who his daddy is. I know who his daddy is.
So he got his mom's hops because
she went to UK, a volleyball player. So for sure.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So hopefully we got another one. My daughter's a junior in high school, so hopefully we got another college athlete volleyball player in her. So
amazing.
Let me ask you real quick, because I know Rex is going to wrap this up, but I know you've seen the Cats play this year a little bit. I know you're busy, and they've struggled a little, but everyone knows they've got a lot of the pieces. But if you had to do a, not giving anything away, sort of a prelim scout.
You're not going to get shit with this answer. He's coaching against them.
Sort of a prelim scout. If you had to scout the team. And
I'll just say this. I'm probably not going to scout it too much, but I'll just say this. Cal's been there for a while now. And if you ask me, I think his first year and the 38-1 team are really the only teams he had that from the opening game were ready to go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All of his teams have, his Final Four teams have all gotten better over the course of the year. I know nobody wants to hear that,
Right.
Oh, they're going to get better. But, I look at it, I don't know how upset they would be if the COVID year hadn't, where they canceled the tournament. That team was and was clicking on all cylinders at the time. They were pretty good. They might not have the same, but it's been 3 years of no real NCAA tournament success. Mm-hmm. So I understand it. I was a Kentucky fan growing up. I'm still, I still bleed blue, except for one day a year. And, I think they've got talented pieces and he's saying it, and it sounds like coach speak and all that stuff, but I think he'll figure things out and you'll see the team get better. Does that mean it's going to be a national championship team? I don't know about that, but they got talent, and it takes time because you know how it is. He's got a whole new team just about every year, you brought some big pieces back this year, but you still added a lot of new faces.
People got to remember that team that didn't get to do anything had PJ Washington, Tyler Hero on it. And who am I missing? Keldon Johnson. Those guys, didn't they? Wasn't it?
Nick Richards was on that team, I know.
Well, remember that team, though, that specific team ended up being really good. And we thought we had a chance to win at the end of the year. That team got beat by Evansville at the beginning of the season. By Evansville.
Right.
So yeah, we do get better. Scott, what's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie. Ooh. I'm a guy. It depends on the mood, kind of thing. But I'm really a big fan of Godfather. Godfather 2 would be my favorite out of the. There isn't a third one. There's really only two.
Yeah.
Ask John Rothstein. But I've got some weird ones that if I'm just in a mood and I have to see something funny, young Jamie Foxx, Great White Hype with Samuel
Oh
L. Jackson.
yeah.
It's goofball funny, like I got some weird ones. I mean, I've spent the last 20, 21 years now with kids. So most of the movies I watch in the last 20
That's
years
right.
are Disney, Marvel, Star Wars. So I'm that guy. Like, I don't, if they want to pick those movies, I'm like, let's go,
Let's go. Yep. Watch what you want to watch.
I went and saw the, Avatar 2 with them yesterday. So,
fantastic.
Was it good? What'd you think?
I thought it was pretty good. Like the only thing, and I told my kids this too, I was like, if you could shave off 5 here, 5 there, because it's a really long movie. It's 3 hours.
Yeah, it is long.
Minutes. If you got it in about 250, it would probably be phenomenal.
Right. Yeah.
Good to know. Okay, Scott, front row center. You could be to watch any athlete, any performer, any musician, any speaker, dead or alive. Who do you pick?
Oh, that's tough because you said dead or alive. Man, I got to stick with my roots. Muhammad Ali in his prime.
Yeah, well done. Done.
Like the number 2 would be Jordan in his prime, but Ali, go see Muhammad Ali boxing in his prime would be.
Yeah.
I met him in a hospital when I was 7 years old. He was doing magic tricks for me. Like, it was crazy. I didn't know who he was.
Amazing.
Doing
our
homeboy.
He came and watched Rex play. Remember that?
He came out my freshman year too.
He was at our Louisville 85-51 game.
Yeah, he got a good game.
I saw him in LAX once.
Big brother.
And no one was around him, and I couldn't help it. I was like, I know I don't want to buy. I never do that, but I was like, I have to. And he had his photographer friend that was always with him. And this was deep into the Parkinson's, and he was and his friend was like, no, talk to him. That's what he's here for. Like, and he didn't mean the airport. He meant life. Amazing. That's what he is. And I just said, may I get a picture of so? And guy turned around with the camera, and I go, oh, and he looked at me. He had the Parkinson's, and he looked at me, and he just goes, he's crazy.
Oh, man. I'll say this: in '95. I got to sit by him for a while because, I didn't get off the bench. We played Syracuse. He sat over on our bench for a while. So I was over there by him most of the day.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Oh, it's so awesome. All right, Scott, we're going to let you get out of here. Tell Coach Jans we're going to be calling. Tell him don't avoid us. All right. You guys keep tearing it up. Can't thank you enough, Scott Padgett. Come back and do it again. All right, buddy?
No problem. Take care.
Scott Padgett, Kentucky homeboy. That was fun.
That was a ball for me. I mean, just hearing, it's like if I just living through him as a kid, and they beats Duke.
He makes the shot and thinks about Christian Laettner immediately. How great is that?
The best. That's
awesome. That's right.
Fantastic.
God. Oh my God. So much fun. So much fun. And it was fun watching all those guys come through there because, like I said, Kenny and I were playing in the summer with those guys. We basically lived with them over there at UK. And if they were swimming, we were swimming. If they were going to the track, we were going to the track. If they were playing, we were playing. And we'd get to beat up on them. They were young guys. We were already playing in the pros. But what was so fun was watching guys like MASH show up and you beat his ass for 6 months or whatever. And you come back the next year and he's kicking your ass or Antoine, those guys that come in and they don't know anything and they're so good and so raw that you see them 6 months, 8 months later and their bodies are different. And it's just amazing. But Scott said it, he and Jared Prickett and several others. I don't think there's anybody that goes to college. Most everybody that goes off, even the highly recruited ones that go to Kentucky, where you don't have that little bit of doubt in before your freshman year starts. The classes are harder, the schedule's tougher, the practices are harder, the weight room sucks, the conditioning sucks. Things are a lot easier at home. And Scott laid it out pretty well. And it was a different era where you couldn't leave and transfer and go somewhere else. How about him enrolling at Louisville?
Unbelievable.
Unreal.
It was a time you wonder now because there is no way 0% chance. Well, maybe because he's a Kentucky kid, but that a guy like Scott Padgett stays at Kentucky after 4 years playing behind those guys. He signs. He's like, I'm in Kentucky, and then he sees he's got like 8 guys in front of him at his position, and he could just leave the next year and go someplace and play immediately and get big time minutes. And he had a hard time academically because he,
partying,
much fun, and he fought the character to fight through that. Without them, you think they're like, okay, take this job and you do this and you got to take these classes and we're on you just to get you back. And he had to do it all on his own. I had no idea the wherewithal and to be able to accept, I effed up and I've got to do this, and I made a deal, and he did it.
That, and like you said, or like he said, Josh, I don't know what he was trying to do. He was trying to motivate me. Part of it, and he did it with Richie too. He did it with a lot of guys that struggled. It's almost like he pushes you to the point to see, do you really want to stay? I'm going to make it miserable for you. And if you withstand it, that's fantastic. If you don't and you go home, then you don't. And I get someone else in here who, is willing to do that.
And we've had examples, from Shepard and Mashburn,
Nazi Muhammad and everybody. Yeah.
But when them being on the show talking about Nazi and Richie, how he pushed them so much physically that they wanted to, they weren't. But he really pushed Scott. He pushed his mental buttons right away, like, shave your goatee because you're not playing at the next level, and they are. And then all right, here's the deal. You have to go out and get a 3.0, and you have to do this and pay for your semester.
Yeah.
That's real world lessons.
No question.
And he didn't say, when he was talking about, and everybody else had these cush jobs, and I was out, I was like, Rick Pitino did that.
No question he did it.
No question. Let's get him a real job. That was Rick.
Yeah, I'll say the name. I'll tell this real quick while we're talking about it. But I told you this not long ago. He had an assistant coach that got a DUI one time. And first year, second year assistant coach at Louisville. And got a DUI. It's pretty well publicized. And Rick made that assistant get up at 4 a.m, come get on the treadmill, run 6 miles every single day, rain or shine. Had someone come pick him up because he couldn't drive. 6 miles, rain or shine. And that was at the time when Rick was still playing like 3-on-3 every morning. So that coach would run 6 miles and then play 3-on-3 and then coach. And he did it for like 6 months. That coach is now somewhere coaching at a big time school.
And he weighed about 60 pounds less than he would have.
That's right. Yeah, anyway, that was fun. You want to do it again next week, Josh?
Really would, Rex.
Let's do. That was episode 71 of the Rex Chapman Show with my super dope homeboy from the Lextown, Josh Hopkins. We'll be back here next week, same time, powered by basketballnews.com.